It's about time for you to be finishing up your international business term paper first draft. So I wanted to spend a few minutes with you talking about this whole process of drafting, reviewing, and submitting your international business paper, what is required, what the expectations are, and how you can make an A on this assignment. So what is the assignment? The assignment requires you, first of all, to do research. You will not be able to write this paper without doing some kind of significant research. And then you'll be able to write a clear and logical research paper, which, number one, will be on a specific topic in international business or globalization, and number two, will explore this topic in reference to one or more countries. Your paper will need, therefore, a topic, and you will have several topics to pick from. It should have a stated thesis or your claim concerning this topic, and it should show explicit analysis. And that analysis should show the topic applied to some country other than the United States of America. In your analysis, I need you to show support of the claim in your thesis. So in your thesis, you make a claim, you state a certain position, and your analysis should show at least 3 pieces of evidence that supports that claim, that shows that that claim is true. I do require that of these 3 pieces of evidence, at least one should be either a newspaper article or some kind of media report. And I also ask that one of the sources of these 3 sources should be from a country other than the country you're doing your paper about, so a second country. The idea, of course, here is to have different perspectives and have different perspectives included in your analysis. The topics from which you can pick include several broad general topics on international business and globalization. And you can pick one of those topics to cover in your paper. These topics are the implications of offshoring, foreign direct investment and economic development, the impact of trade on standards of living, overcoming the cross-cultural challenges in international business, and the consequences of globalization. Or if there's a topic that's of real interest to you and is not covered here, talk to me about it, and I will work with you on getting that approved as a topic for the paper. So once you write this paper, how will you be graded? You will very much be graded on the quality of your critical thinking in the paper. This is a CTW course, and therefore critical thinking is going to be very important. But it's CTW, so you also will be graded on your writing. Of course, when we write a report, it's important that you cite your sources. This is the issue of academic honesty, and you need to cite those sources both in the text where you specifically quote or reference a source. Also include those in the bibliography at the end of your document. We will actually use a rubric to grade this paper, and you find this rubric on D2L. And I shared in class. You can look on D2L for the document called Grading Criteria for CTW Term Paper, revised fall 2013. So what should the format of your paper? Your paper should be somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 words. Of course, depending on whether you double space or single space, depending on the size of your font, that's going to be more or less pages, which is why I use word count instead of page count. Your paper format should include proper reference citations, and you can either use APA or MLA style. The important thing is you're consistent in whatever style you use here. And at the end, there should be a list of sources cited in your bibliography. So what should the structure of your paper be? The paper should have a first part, which should be your hypothesis or your proposition. And this is your claim, the claim you make in this paper. The second part should then be the evidence or the support that you provide for your claim. The third part is the conclusion. And in this conclusion, you show that your thesis was proven. And what is very important here is that your warrant is made clearly explicit in this. I will discuss with you in class and also in D2L a model of argument called the Tummel model of argument that will specifically explain what a warrant is. A warrant is basically the reason that there is a connection between what you claim and your evidence. So what resources do you have in order to do this paper? For the writing part, there are several resources to your disposal. First of all, there are online resources. There are the Tummel model of argument resources on writing a CTW paper. That is both on the BUSA3000.com page as well as in D2L. There is a link to a resource that's online about writing effective research and technical reports. And of course, there are resources about using reference citations such as APA and MLA. Those are on the library website. There are also links in D2L. Most important, you have a CTW writing consultant assigned to this section. Her name is Susan Cowler, and Susan actually used to teach this course. She's now in the PhD program and is available to help you with this assignment. Of course, she's not going to write your paper, but she can talk you through some of the challenges that you may face, answer some questions, help understand feedback that you may get on your assignment. Resources available for doing the research would include the GSU library website. If you go to the library website, you will see that there is a BUSA3000 research guide that has very specific resources available for this. There also are other resources available on doing international business research on the library website. You have a reference librarian at your disposal, Joe Gloglowski, and his contact information is in D2L and also available on the library website. Another good place to start if you want to get some additional resources is your textbook. At the end of each chapter, there are all kinds of resources identified concerning that specific chapter, and to the extent that the chapter covers one of the topics, that could be a great resource for you to start. So let's talk about the first draft process. Of course, you're going to start and do a selection of a topic. Pick one of the topics available to you. And once you've done that, you probably need to pick a country that relates to this topic and decide. You may change this later on, but this is a good place to start. Pick a topic and pick a country that you would like to explore that topic in terms of. And start doing some background research. I can tell you Wikipedia is a good place to start. Google is a good place to start. Just start reading some background on the topic, what the topic means, how the words in the topic are used, what the big picture is as it relates to a country. And that'll sort of lay out for you a frame in terms of where you may end up going with this paper. And then outline a draft paper. This is a very important part of the process, is creating for yourself a framework, and you can work from that. From there, I suggest that you go to review the library research info. We will put this, we'll have this available on D2L or on the library website, in both places actually. And so go look at this research information, and now you can start looking at finding higher quality, better quality resources to develop your paper. Of course, you need to do that detailed research. The time you spend on that can be mostly online. It's rare today that students actually go to the library to do the research. Though there are some books available in the library that may be helpful, you can probably do most of this using the virtual resources available to you through the GSU library website. And then, of course, you write a draft paper. Your first draft you need to submit in D2L. You go to the Dropbox in D2L and submit your paper for draft number 1. Once you've submitted that paper, it is going to take a few minutes and come back and give you an originality report. It is very important that you go back after submitting the paper and look at that originality report to make sure that compared to resources available online, this paper of yours does not have problems with academic honesty and copyright issues. So if there are significant problems, you need to make those corrections and resubmit the paper a second time. At that point, and after the deadline of submission for the first draft arrives, you will receive feedback on your paper. That feedback will come from both myself and the writing assistant. We will give you some substantial feedback on what happened, what your first draft looks like. We'll actually give you a preliminary score using the rubric. From there are two things you can do. Maybe both, maybe you only need to do one. If you have some concerns about some of the feedback, you want to consult with Susan Carlo and get some assistance on writing. If English is not your first language and you have some problems, you may want to look at the Writing Studio. You may want to see if there's some resources available from English Second Language Department. There are resources available, significant resources available at the university to help you with that. I myself am an English as second language speaker, so I understand the challenge for this. I have a lot of respect for the fact that you may not speak English as a mother tongue and have come a long way to be able to just be submitting a paper in English. And so make use of those resources. The university also provides those resources for you. And of course, based on your feedback, we may recommend that you do some additional research. This is quite often the case. Explore the research, find more specific research, make sure that the research is relevant and on target. And once you're done with all of that, of course, you revise your paper. And when time comes, you will submit your second draft in D2L. In the Dropbox, there will be a draft 2 submission space in which you will submit a second draft. And we will go through the process again. You need to review for originality, resubmit if there are issues in your second draft. We'll give you feedback on that. You at that point may get some assistance on writing if there are still some issues. Or you may need to do some additional research, revise your paper, at which point you will then submit your final draft. The final draft will then, of course, be graded using the rubric, and that is how you will get the final grade for this paper. Because you have a rubric explaining exactly what will be graded, there is no reason you cannot make an A on this paper.